Contrary to what many believe, episode 6 was not censored. Instead, it lasted a full 33 minutes, making it the longest entry in the amazing digital circus so far. On one hand, it unveiled a flood of new information. On the other, it ended in a deeply cruel way. Gusworks once hinted that we would never believe who was closest to breaking down, and now it is painfully clear that he was right. Throughout the series, JAX has always been a difficult character to truly understand. With each episode, it felt like he carried more hidden layers, and in this latest one, it seems undeniable that he is the one standing on the edge of completely losing his mind. The scene that resembled a panic attack during the award ceremony strongly suggested this unraveling, but let's walk through his arc in episode 6. As expected, JAX was thrilled to join the shooting adventure. At the beginning, he wanted to team up with Gangle as he usually did. Yet when she admitted she would rather stay with her ball, JAX's disappointment was noticeable. It was not just about being rejected, it was the fact that things weren't going the way he had planned. When Pomni eventually ended up paired with him, somewhat unwillingly, they headed down the dormitory hallway, where JAX began explaining his perspective on the world. Though he tried to sound persuasive, it quickly became clear that it isn't so easy to forget that you were once human, still thinking and acting like one. JAX clings to the idea that nothing matters anymore, now that he is trapped in an endless game as a cartoon rabbit, yet he continues to carry memories of his human life, of fears, of emotions, and of people he once loved. That kind of weight cannot simply be switched off, even if it hurts to carry. In one of his outbursts, he says,
"So, who are you gonna kill first, Pom-Pom?"
I don't know if I'll really be doing much of the killing. I'll just find guns for you, and you can do all the violent stuff. You like that, right?
You know none of this is real, right?
Oh, what do you mean? Like the circus?
The game today is literally to shoot each other. So what's the point in taking this moral high ground?
Well, they're my friends. I don't really want to hurt them.
All right, let me be real here. Why do you care about that?
About not hurting my friends?
Look, I know what it's like. One day you're somebody in the real world doing important things, and then the next you're just a weird little cartoon jester. You want to hold on to that part of you that still thinks it's part of that world, but in the end, what does it get you? Ragatha tries to be all nice and friendly, but she gets torn up every other adventure. Whether we like it or not, all we are now is a bunch of cartoon characters. So what's the point of pretending we're not?
We're still people, though, right?
I thought we were at first, but as time goes on, we just end up falling into our archetypes, become part of the machine.
What's your archetype, then? The villain?
Listen, I add a key dynamic. I see how far I can push things. I screw with people, and I break the fourth wall. You want to know why? It's 'cause it's funny. I do everything 'cause it's funny. 'Cause I'm the funny one.
The funny one?
Yeah. Ragatha's the cheerful one, Gangle's the sad one, Kinger's the crazy one, Zubal's the grumpy one, and you are the one who hasn't figured that out yet. We all just became archetypes. I at least have the self-awareness to choose who I am.
But even this declaration fails to convince Pomni. His entire monologue feels forced, highlighting how unstable he really is. And it makes sense. This is his way of staying sane, by reducing himself to the cartoon role he describes. But he cannot fully do it, at least not entirely. The next scene is telling. JAX approaches Pomni, seemingly to corrupt her. Back in episode 5, it already seemed like he wanted revenge on Ragatha, and might be using Pomni to hurt her. But now, in episode 6, it feels different. It almost looks as if JAX genuinely enjoyed Pomni's company in both episodes 5 and 6, until she herself pointed it out. That was when he became defensive. This likely connects to his memories of Kaufmo and Ribbit. Ragatha once mentioned that JAX used to have friends in the circus, but no longer does. There has to be a reason for that. My theory is that JAX now pushes everyone away, making them hate him or claiming he wants to shoot anyone, is because deep down he is terrified of reconnecting. He fears opening up, only to lose them if either he or the other person abstracts. Reliving that kind of loss would be unbearable. We don't know the exact circumstances of Kaufmo and Ribbit's abstractions, but JAX confessed that right before it happened, it was unbearable to be around them. That sounds eerily familiar. What if the true reason JAX avoids forming new bonds is because he already knows the pain of losing someone? Watching the ending of episode 6, it seems JAX is inching closer to abstraction himself. Maybe he realized this when the panic attacks began, and that's why he keeps his distance. Not to spare himself, but to avoid hurting others. Perhaps he thinks it is less painful for the rest of the circus members if he behaves like a jerk and never becomes their friend, rather than getting close only to vanish like Kaufmo and Ribbit. It sounds strange when speaking of JAX, but the truth is, he seems far deeper and more misunderstood than people give him credit for. The fandom often boxes him into the very archetype he spoke about, treating him as if he were nothing more. But what if that misses the point entirely? This episode again demonstrated that JAX is not heartless. Instead, he is scarred, depressed, and repressing emotions he refuses to share. But repression only works for so long. Eventually, those feelings surface. And in JAX's case, he has never truly opened up, at least not in the way we imagine. Even in an episode that focused heavily on him, we never got his full backstory. Still, through his actions, we learned plenty. At this stage, it doesn't seem like he is headed for a happy ending. Maybe he could still be saved, but if my theory is correct, that his unraveling began as early as episode 1 and has only worsened since, then it is only a matter of time before he abstracts. Maybe not in the next episode, but sooner or later. His behavior in episode 6 was odd throughout. In several scenes, he appeared distant. If what he said was true, that people about to abstract become unpleasant and hard to be around, then maybe he was describing his own current state. One particularly chilling moment occurs when Pomni asks him what he would do if she abstracted the next day. JAX responds,
What would you do if I abstracted tomorrow?
I'd move on. And probably forget about you.
Okay. Okay. I understand.
It's possible he said this because it is what he wants Pomni to do when he inevitably abstracts. The implication is heartbreaking. Even though he clings to the image of being in control, acting as though he enjoys tormenting others, none of it feels genuine anymore. Maybe he wants to be that simple, just a cartoon character written for laughs. But he isn't. He was human once, and he still has a human soul. That makes him far more than a bundle of pixels. When he said, "There's nothing more in me, so please stop looking," it was devastating. For him, though, it was necessary. He is convinced it is less painful to push people away than to reveal his true self, the side that feels, that suffers, that is drowning in depression and apathy. This is probably why Ragatha bothers him so much. She constantly speaks from her emotions, living guided by them. When she accused him of corrupting Pomni, JAX's reaction was unusually sharp. He might even feel responsible for Kaufmo and Ribbit's abstraction. If Ragatha was right, and now he is corrupting Pomni too, it would explain why he feels even worse. Think about it. JAX lives in a nightmare where every bond he forms becomes another person he is doomed to lose. He already lost Kaufmo and Ribbit. Now he fears repeating the pattern. The hallway scene, where he looks at old photos, perfectly illustrates this. There is a deep longing in his eyes, followed immediately by a decision to shake it off, to forget, to keep going. Exactly the same advice he gave Pomni earlier. That breakdown scene may not only be a collapse, but also JAX's twisted attempt to protect Pomni. In his mind, by pushing her away and embracing the villain role, he is safeguarding her from the same fate as Kaufmo and Ribbit. It's depression at its most corrosive. The belief that isolating yourself is somehow helping others. The tragedy is that we don't even know if Kaufmo and Ribbit's abstraction was truly his fault. He might be carrying guilt based on nothing more than Ragatha's comments, especially her jab that he was corrupting Pomni. Yet here's where things get interesting. If anyone can reach JAX, it might be Kinger. We've already seen him help other characters, and he has struggled with his own grief and memory issues. He could be the only one who truly understands what JAX is enduring. The question is whether he can reach him before JAX is lost completely, and honestly, it may already be too late. JAX's coping mechanisms have become so warped that even when Pomni tried to be his friend, he couldn't accept it without assuming he would eventually hurt her. That isn't just being a jerk anymore. That's being utterly broken.